Well, hello. Welcome back, everybody. Oh, we are so glad to be here. This is episode number 3 already. We can't believe it. It's been so much fun. So far, it's been just a blast. Katie, you having fun with this?
So much fun. I can't believe it's episode 3 already. I find the weeks go by really fast in between.
They do. And you know what even goes by quicker is the show.
Absolutely.
Oh, you always say that, I can't believe it's 30 minutes already. Where'd that go? Anyway,
Yeah.
we have so much fun. So anyway, all right. Well, let's get rolling because our time does go
Yeah.
quick. So
So
on today's episode, we're very excited to talk about our journey into photography. What inspired us to get involved into photography in the first place, and then of course a little bit about our journey that we've been on, and today what keeps us inspired or what keeps us looking for different or new things to go along with. And are we actually evolving? That's a whole kind of cool topic that we're going to talk about today. So having said that, I'm just going to turn it right over to Kate and let Kate start with this show.
okay, awesome. Thanks, Paul. This was a big topic, and it wasn't until I got kind of making notes of what has inspired me throughout the years that I realized what woven tapestry you could say a person's inspiration might be. And I just to simplify things because of time and, people's interest, I broke down my inspirations into two kind of categories: early life and current life. So I I was always interested in photography. And so I was born in 1985, and so when I think of early influences, it was heavily wrapped around movies, and there was a slew of movies that came out in the 90s that even today still resonate with me. And because of these movies, it made me want to create images uh, that made me feel like these movies made me feel. And it's funny because it never inspired me to get into video. It was just always photography for me. Um, Anyways, I won't spend too much time on them, but just several of these movies from the night. So 1999, there was Midsummer Night Dream. 1993, Secret Garden. That, along with the soundtrack, still to this day resonates deeply with me in my photography. 1994, Black Beauty, and Danny Elfman's soundtrack on that movie still is just so good. It holds up against time, which is now what, 30 years later. Um, so yeah, so like those movies, I was 10, around 10 or earlier, that those movies heavily influenced me. And in addition to movies, even music at that age it would create feelings within me that I would want to recreate with images. Um, at the time, like my dad was heavily into 1950s and 60s rock and roll, and that was actually exclusively what he listened to. So I really latched on to 60s music. Um, so yeah, that's a kind of an odd thing. And then on the flip side, the other big soundtrack in my life was I latched onto classical music. So I kind of had those two musical influences going, and they would just generate, images in my mind that I'd want to recreate. And then in my early years, books, it's impossible to even say what books influenced me because there was always a book. There was 3 or 4 books going. So reading and, imagination was just constantly going. So like all those things kind of translated into wanting to make pictures. And anyway, so then in my late teens, early 20s, some images that really stand out were of this ghost town, a diamond mining town that went abandoned after World War One, and it was in the Namibian desert. And the name of the town was Kolmanskop. It was a German name, and like I said, it was a diamond mining town. And there were these pictures. I saw them in a book. I don't know who the photographer was. There's been so many pictures taken of it since, but they resonated with me. And I feel like unless I go there, I'll never be able to take pictures of abandoned buildings that will ever mirror like the colors and the vibe of this place. I'm actually going to share a couple of these photos with you so you can see what I mean. So just give me a second. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
And here we go. Um, I think it's one of these places I'll definitely have to go to in my life before. Sorry, just bear with me here.
Yeah, no problem.
Open these. Here we go. So these pictures are, it's interesting because the houses are old and they're vibrantly colored. But there's sand dunes
Oh, wow.
moving all throughout them. So, just a very interesting composition, right? Like the abandoned building with the sand moving through. The houses
S
kind of just made me
it
feel a
reminds
feeling I
me
didn't even know how to describe it.
it reminds me a little bit of, the photo that we showcased of yours with the hands.
Oh, interesting.
You know, basically with the
Interesting.
light, there's a certain light stream that came in. That seems to be the focal point. And anyway, that's not to say that's the same picture, but it's very
Well, I
cool.
love hearing that. So perhaps 30 years later, I have been able to find out my own way to convey the same feeling. I'll just show one more really quick here. Um, just of the sand dunes moving through again. Just one sec.
So as you're bringing that up,
Here we go.
so when you look at that, like how do you feel when you look at something like that?
It's an interesting feeling because it's so vibrant. So I feel full of despair, almost, seeing the sand dunes overtake this building. I want to touch the sand. I feel like I want to feel that texture. And I also feel vibrancy and joy with the colors and the sunlight going through and like the sense of mystery of being maybe the first photographer to find this place after so many years.
Yeah.
A lot of emotion there. So
So
anyway, so I just wanted to share with our viewers that.
are those photos yours?
No, so those photos are not mine. There's been so many photos taken of that place now that I honestly just went on Google and just picked out
Oh, okay.
uh 3 photos. So I'm sorry I don't have the photographers' names, but if you go into Google and search this town, Kalmanskop, you'll see those photos a million different ways from a million different photographers. It doesn't take
Yeah.
away the specialness for me because I hope to be added to that roster of photographers soon.
You said you had a third
Um
one?
oh, I thought I showed 3.
Maybe I
Maybe not.
missed it.
Yeah. Anyways, you know what? The 2 that I showed anyways, like they really do
Okay.
kind of capture the whole vibe there, the colors and the sand dunes. So anyways, those pictures always resonated with me as early inspiration for how I want people to feel when they look at my photos too. Okay, so that was my early years, and honestly, all those things still resonate with me and my photography now and my style now. So, it just is like a shout out to parents with kids. Expose them to movies, books, and music. You never know
Mm,
like what is going to shape them. Just make sure that they're getting exposed to like as much art and as much culture as possible. There's so much out there to inspire. Um, yeah. So, anyways, and then in my life now, the similar things continue to inspire. Poems, books, movies, all that kind of thing. There is a photographer right now in India that I find very inspiring with his wildlife photography. I find it very playful, but it's also kind of moody and smooth and,
mhm,
and dreamy, which all those things I like to incorporate into mine. So I'm going to share my screen one more time,
mhm,
just to give a shout out to this um, photographer in India, I believe. And I've never said his name out loud until now. um, so I think it's Shaz Young or Zhang. I'm not sure. Anyways, but here's just look at his images. Like they're
wow,
so
eh?
smooth and they're so creative, so full of expression. So I
Yeah,
believe what I've read of the photographer, I think he may be descendant from royalty, and he uses his influence and a lot of the proceeds from photography to do a lot of preservation and
yeah.
wildlife work and that kind of thing. So I think that's pretty
Can
cool.
can you show the ones on the bottom again?
Uh,
Oh,
oh shoot, sorry.
Yeah, I
second.
just want to look at the bottom ones. I just want to see if they, with all 6 photographs, um, if they're all kind of the top 3. It's almost was almost a peekaboo kind of thing. What's on the
Yeah,
bottom
really.
3?
So here we go. Actually, these are all
Okay.
kind of,
Yeah.
well, this is
Yeah.
a collection. So this is a collection. So I think it's intentional. It's called Jungle is Watching.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought there was a theme
Yeah.
there amongst all of them. That's what I wanted to see.
There,
Very.
somebody sent these to me. Somebody
Wow.
sent some of his photos to me a while ago. He has a collection of Black Panther photos in the jungle, and they're just so elusive and so stunning. They really stand out from other photographers
Yeah.
that I've seen in the similar genre. So, anyways, whoever did send that to me years ago, thank you because I enjoy his photography a lot. Anyways, so I know my portion of the talking is almost up. So on the same note, we did ask our viewers to, if they were comfortable, to send in um, maybe some of their origin story of how they got going. And one of our listeners, Kyle Hansen, a local St. John artist, he did write in some of his origin bits. And if
Mhm.
we have time, I'd love to just share a few of those with our viewers.
Absolutely.
'Cause
Yeah.
it was kind of similar to mine, where he laid out childhood through teen years, and he said that he had three main factors that contribute to his photography today. So Kyle, I'm now reading in the words of Kyle Hansen,
Do you
just
wanna
an
stop
email that
sharing
he wrote
your,
us.
the animal photos?
Oh, absolutely, sorry.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay, great. Okay, so Kyle, this is what he wrote to us. He said, for his motivation and inspiration, it's not something I fully figured out, but I do think it might be a small part of my inspiration is to learn about myself, past, present, and future, to see why graphic media interests me, especially with me not considering myself an artist most days of the year. Such an artist thing to say, isn't it? So anyway, so number one for him were drawings and paintings. On TV, I'd watch Bob Ross and an old pencil drawing show. These both intrigued me as something beautiful was being created from nothing. Second thing that inspired him from his childhood through teen years, his uncle showing him hundreds of 8 by 10 black and white darkroom prints.
Mhm.
This is what Kyle says. My uncle was a trained fanatic who had what seemed like an endless collection of 8 by 10 black and white film prints that he'd show me for hours at a time. So, although the trains didn't do much for me, I think black and white photography got burned into my brain without me realizing it until my early 30s. So interesting. So, and the third thing that Kyle shared with us about his early influences is number three, wanting to be an inventor, which has turned him softly into being a creator. And so Kyle says, not positive, but I think seeing my dad and uncles doing woodworking, building stuff from scratch, may have been the start of me wanting to be a creator in some way. Growing up, I was very quiet and shy, but realized I enjoyed watching the uniqueness of each human and their little nuances, interactions, and expressions, etc. This, I believe, is what led me into portrait and headshot photography. I also wanted to ensure I show people the best way possible, which led me into years of learning lighting, lighting patterns, studio lights, softboxes, etc. Throughout the years, he's played with many genres of photography somewhat just to try new things, but also he finds his way to hopefully what becomes his most meaningful work. Anyway, so then he goes on to talk about he finds it interesting to align up his like a true documentary style with his artistic vision to give the viewer like the truth, but then says, everybody has their own truth sometimes when it comes to seeing things. So that part can be left up to interpretation for sure. So
Mhm.
thank you so much, Kyle, for sending that in.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to check out Kyle's photography on Instagram, his handle is Kyle Hansen Photography, and Hansen is Hanson. Kyle Hansen Photography. So you can check him out and see the great work that he's doing. And anyways, I've talked a lot. So that was about
No,
me and
well,
about our viewer Kyle. So
yeah, you're gonna show some of his photos?
oh, I can. Yeah, I was just gonna. I have his
Yeah,
Instagram up
just
right here,
based
so I'll just
on,
share it real
the
quick.
description that you gave, it's be just really interesting to see, what he sees.
Yeah, sure. Wait. Hey, can you see that there?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is some of Kyle's stuff.
Oh, wow.
super like variety in his
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, a lot of intentional camera movement and,
Yeah. You see the black
um,
and white.
yeah, wow.
Yeah. Really love those blues. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very nice. Such a and
Nice.
like you
Yeah.
said, a lot of different genres that he went over and enjoys. Wow,
Yes. Yeah. Well, thanks. I enjoyed getting that glimpse into your origin story, Kyle. Thank you for sharing that with us.
absolutely. Yeah, thanks, Kyle.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So,
It's
oh, like,
amazing.
yeah, it is. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's nice to see people sending stuff in like that.
Oh, I love it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It can be hard. And like I said, it's hard to kind of decide what has actually influenced you and to put it into words sometimes. So I'm curious what you put together for us for some of your origin story.
well, well, okay, I can show a couple of things. Um, my story isn't quite as artistic as most. I started out with just a little camera, and it wasn't all that long ago. I've not really been in the photography world that much, and when I got involved with it, the first thing I did, like probably a lot of people, is just take pictures of flowers and bees and whatever else was floating around the yard,
Yeah.
and I thought it was kind of cool to look at that. But what I ended up doing with it wasn't just a matter of taking the photo and then, well, there's the photo, and wasn't that neat? 'Cause it wasn't about the content. It was more about how good can I make this picture look. So that was my
I love my
first
spot.
little bit of adventure into photography, and then I get away from it, and then I get into astrophotography, and that's really where my journey began. And I'm not going to get into that tonight because that's a whole other thing, but that's where it kind of began for me. And then I spent almost a decade doing that, and then at the say the last quarter of that decade, I started to dabble in just like photography with cameras and stuff, and I met some really cool people who did some really cool things, and they inspired me to try to get to the level that they were, and I needed to spend a lot of time with them. So I want to thank specifically um, um, Armand. I won't put his last name on because just in case he didn't want me to. But if he's watching,
Mhm.
that's who I want to thank first of all, because he spent so much time with me. Uh, just it didn't matter. Anytime, just like you and I, Kate, we would get on and say, "Look, I just need a half hour," and 3 hours later, it was that kind of thing. So I learned so much, not only about photography, but about editing, because I really wanted to learn how to edit
Mhm.
photography because I was so used to doing it with astrophotography that in astro, your edit is everything. You can't possibly even have a photo unless you edit. So everything's very finite and very detailed. So that's what led me to wanting to have that same expression, I guess, with my photography. And that's where it started for me. And then I just started taking pictures of just stuff. And then when I met Armand, I learned a lot about taking photos. Actually, Armand was just after the show we were in, the photography challenge, and then he's been involved in films and everything, so he had quite an extensive background and all that stuff. But anyway, so that's where that got started, and then I started seeing all these Norman Rockwell
Mm.
photos. Everybody's seen there's calendars everywhere. Who doesn't have a Norman Rockwell somewhere? And
Iconic.
I just loved, first of all, the scenes, the stuff that was going on. Not only the expressions of the people, but the surroundings were just as much a part of his paintings that he did, and the colors. There's just something about the time zone, the time frame that he was in, that those colors just sparked that. I just love that. Anyway, so I started to think, okay, wouldn't that be fun to try to emulate in photography what he did with paintings. So then I started
Cool.
to say, okay, now I have to study what his photos or his paintings are all about. I have to look at the light. I have to look at all that stuff and try to figure out how can I pull that off. And so that led me to look for old magazines. So this was one of the ones. Star Weekly. This is from
Oh, cool.
1956. And what inspired me about this is if you look at it, I'll bring it a little closer, maybe you can see. But if you look at the photos, they're so grainy and they're so printy. It's all about print,
Mhm.
and the colors were what they were back in those days. And I just absolutely love that that grain, that rawness of the
Mm.
photography from back in those days. But the people, when you look at the people in these photos, it's a different era altogether. It's such a different life. So anyway, so that kind of inspired me to try to figure out how could I do that. And in fact, with good golly, Mark, um, when we were on the set, we just had talked just briefly, and I said, you know what? I said, what really inspires me is someday if I can just take those photos that look they were just printed off of an old magazine. That's what I want to do. Anyway,
Cool.
so that's where I kind of got. So I'll just share a couple of other photos that I've done lately if I can find them here. Just one sec here, and I'll bring a couple up, and I'll show one of the first ones that really is an extension of what we were just talking about. Now let me just take that off here and
Norman
put that.
Rockwell is so iconic. I feel he transcends generations and
Oh
everybody
my
knows who
gosh,
he is.
absolutely. Now, hold it. Now you can't see this, nor can our audience. Um, I've got to share it somehow. So let's just see if I share this, present now, and then entire screen, and then you can see, tell me if you see the photo.
I do.
Okay, perfect. So now I'm hoping our audience can see it. They can certainly see it on what we're going to be playing back for them. But anyway, this is a
Okay,
young
good.
lady from Fredericton, and I told her exactly what I had in mind when she came down for the shoot. I wanted to take this back to the 50s, back to the 60s. I needed to have the makeup the way that it needed to be, her hair, all of that stuff. And I said, I've got the props and everything else,
Mm.
but I need someone who's got that look. And my friend Paul Wood knew this girl. And so anyway, so that's how we got to know her. And so we talked to her about that. She came down and of course she looked absolutely amazing. But the
She
treatment that
understood
I
the
had,
assignment.
yeah. So the treatment that I had to pull off on the editing to make this look like that magazine, which it does, it just blew me
It
away.
does
And I,
fall really
and,
well done.
and I was so thrilled that I was able to do that. So that's one of the things that inspires me now is that kind of stuff. Let me just see if I can just maybe just show you one or two more. This one I did very recently. What I wanted to do with this one was I'm always in Indigo, and I'm always looking at magazines. And there's a magazine called Magnolia, and I just love everything about that magazine. It's just so, I don't know, so earthy and so natural, and just I just love it. Anyway, so I saw the magazine and I thought, geez, maybe I can recreate a photo that looks like the cover of a magazine that looks like that. So sure enough, my friend Crystal was very giving of her time, and so we went to her house. This is not even a kitchen. We just made it look that way. We
Wow.
staged it and everything, and we had an
Wow.
absolute blast. But I think in the end, we got the result that we were looking for. So
It
yes,
kind of looks like a Norman Rockwell painting.
well, yeah, the color you had mentioned when you saw it first, you had mentioned the colors, and I'm not quite
Mm,
sure what you saw in them, but I think the color blend is kind of nice or balanced, I should say.
absolutely.
Uh,
Even the red wine in that glass, like there's so many there's so many details in that picture, like a Norman Rockwell painting. The more you look at it, the more you see. It's really nice.
yeah, yeah, it was just so much fun to do, and I'll just show you. Just where is the other one I wanted to show you? Oh, this one. This is just a scene that I created
Cool.
in my basement, and I think it kind of speaks for what it is. It's back in the 60s, maybe early 70s, based on the telephone and the typewriter
Yeah.
and the old lamp. The light Venetian blind on the window was created with a special light to create that. And but she came in and she's such a great actress, and she came in and she did a whole bunch of different shots with me. But this was the one I had set up when she came in. I didn't care about anything else. If we had to get anything else,
Yeah,
but I
you
wanted
got what you
that
yeah,
shot. And yeah, so she looks like she's, oh my gosh, she just got the scoop. She's got to get it down on paper and get it out there because she's got to scoop every other newspaper magazine that's out there. So that was kind of that shot. And
exactly what's happening.
briefly, whoops, that's not what I want to show. I'm just going to show one more thing that we just did very recently. And this is, you haven't seen this. This one I just played with.
No, I haven't.
And this is taking us back to the 70s, early 80s, listening to music. And back in the day, you may not remember this, Kate, because of your age, but back in the day when we had used cassette tapes. Do you remember cassettes?
Oh, yes. I had
Okay.
lots of cassettes.
Okay. So back in the day, we used cassette tapes. When I was a younger fella, I sold stereos, and the tapes back in the day, there was this company called Maxell. Maxell made these audio tapes, and they
Yeah,
had a photo of a guy sitting back in the chair, just getting his hair and everything just blown back, listening to music. So
yeah.
we were up at the studio, and that's Waylon's daughter Hannah, and I said, "Would you mind just sitting in that chair? I just have an idea. I just want to see if we can pull off a vibe, if nothing else." And anyway, so she sat in the chair, and then there she was, and it was
So
just she looked
fun.
so joyful.
Yeah, it's a great expression.
Yeah. So anyway, so it was just a proof of concept is all that was. And then of course we just did our mad scientist scene. So this was another scene I've had in my head for a long, long time that I wanted to pull off. Could we do it? We needed a big space to be able to stretch out and get all this stuff spread out so we could run around and get different angled shots and stuff. And this was a very complex setup, but I think
Mhm.
we achieved what we were after, which was that
Oh my
mad
gosh, yes.
scientist. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you've been talking about that for quite a while. You went to a lot you went to a lot of effort getting, like, the bottle collections, the lights, the clothes. This was a long time coming. I feel like you were
yeah,
talking about this for months.
I'm going to put that back on here and I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. Yeah, so that's a little bit about me and my journey, where I'm at with it. So now, I mean, I like doing portraits and all that other stuff too, but I really, really like finding something, getting an idea, wherever you get it. And who knows? You and I
Mhm.
did a shoot actually where you already had in mind what you wanted to do. This was with Chelsea.
The cello.
And so
Yeah,
we both got what we wanted out of that. I had in my head,
it was
I went
great.
into your house, thank you very much, and saw a wall that I fell in love with. And I said, I got to do something with that
Mm,
wall.
yeah. It's here for you anytime. Um, what was I gonna say about that? Oh, I feel that your journey has been fast. Kyle and I talking about, oh, from childhood we've been, inspired. But I feel like you've developed this photography talent and world very fast. Like you are presenting photos like someone who's been photographing for a long time, but you've only like how long has it been?
This kind of, just within the last couple of years.
No, that's insane. That's
Yeah.
huge. That's a huge learning
Yeah.
curve. You've learned it so fast.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm retired, so I got time on my hands. That's where I spend my
That's
time.
true, but
My house looks
yeah.
terrible, but I'm getting better at photography.
No. No, you've got a really cool space down there.
Yeah. So, and Kate yourself as well. I mean, like I say, one of the main reasons why we're doing this show together is your photography, because again, and I've said it all along that it's so inspirational to look at, and it's so enveloping when you do actually look at the photography. And every time I look at any one of your photos, I start thinking, okay, this is, I could almost see where you're going with this, and it's just a journey. You can close your eyes and just look at that photo, and then all of a sudden there's a story behind it that you can just make up in your head, and that kind of stuff. So
Cool.
and then hopefully anybody out there who sees, and we should start sharing more of your photos, who sees your stuff can get inspired by that, because I don't think there's too many people that wouldn't be too inspired by your photos. So
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for saying that. Well, so it's interesting. So speaking of both of our journeys, do we have an interesting announcement to make about our next episode?
we do. We do. In fact, next week, well, first of all, Kate and I, no, you know what? We'll tell the story next week. So next week, we have our very first guest. And this guest is someone that basically got our partnership together. And I'll kind of leave it at that. But his name is Mark Hemmings. Most people know Mark in the photography world, certainly. He's done it all. He's done books, he's done movies, he's done or not movies, but series rather. He does these travel workshops with Jamie Wilson. They travel the world and they take photographers with them, and they really get them plugged into some of the really cool spots in the world. Anyway, Mark is going to be on our show with us next week, and so I know I'm excited, and I think Kate's very excited about that too.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Perfect first guest, I think. Very flattered and excited to have him be a part of our show so quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, so we're excited about that, and then next week we'll get into our little story. So, I think next week's going to be a really fun episode, and there's going to be some pretty funny stories being told. So, I'm really looking forward to doing that one. So, I
Yeah,
think,
me too.
and we now have a YouTube channel, and it
Ooh,
is snapshots and stories, just
yep,
like our
easy.
snapshots and stories you see on the right. There we go. There we go. Right down there.
Yeah.
That's and so it's so if you want to look us up on YouTube, all of our episodes are going to be on YouTube as well. So and we also have a
Yep.
Facebook page now, Snapshots and Stories, and that's where we're going to be distributing our episodes. So it'll be on both formats, and there's the third one coming up, but we'll tell you a little bit about that one once we put that one and get it all wrapped up and ready to go. So
We
other
have to
than that,
maintain some mystery.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be so much fun. And oh, by the way,
Oh my gosh,
send
yeah.
in your photos and your
Yep.
suggestions. Oh, did I do this again? I did this again. I know I did. There we go. Send in your photos, your suggestions. If you want to send in, like Kyle did. Kyle, thank you for sending in
Hmm.
that info, that part of your life, and we really enjoyed sharing it. And send those in to snapshots and stories at outlook.com, and we would love to see that. If you do go on our YouTube channel, make sure you hit the like and hit the subscribe, and let's get that
Hmm.
channel up and growing. And let's see if we can't get this photography community growing and doing what we had set out to do. So, anything else, Kate,
Sounds good
before
to
we
me.
wrap up?
No, this sounds good. I think we made all the announcements. We're official,
Okay.
and yeah, looking forward to hearing from you guys.
All right. So then, having said all of that, from Kate and from me, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode.
See ya.